Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Mike, and today I just kind of wanted to do a bit of a commentary video talking a little bit about some of the Black Ops 6 reveals that we ended up getting over the past weekend, where, yeah, we did see a pretty good amount of stuff in regards to Black Ops 6 and what it aims to provide in the Call of Duty space, which I know that I did title the video something more along the lines of, XDefiant in particular, and I will get to that because I do want to talk about both games here since they're both kind of starting to get into the realm of starting to reach their point of like fully going out and trying to compete. XDefiant's in its preseason. Call of Duty has just started the marketing for Black Ops 6 and all that, but really quick, like just to kind of fully start off, I wanted to just discuss a little bit about what the Black Ops 6 Direct showed, what I saw, and how I felt about it. Now, when it came to my impressions of, just on the leaking side of things, before anything kind of got revealed, I was under the impression that Treyarch was going to basically just make when it comes to the more modern Call of Duty games, especially Vanguard in particular, that one's kind of the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to this kind of thing. Um, Vanguard was a game where it quite literally looked and felt like a Modern Warfare 2019 with a World War II skin over it. And I think a lot of people like to use that kind of description to describe all of the modern Call of Duty games nowadays. But truth be told, I think Cold War, because Cold War still ran on an old Treyarch engine, not an old, but the Treyarch engine in particular, as opposed to Infinity Ward, it did feel different compared to something like Modern Warfare and Vanguard. Looking at Modern Warfare 2 and 3 now, in the past couple of years, both of those games both effectively look and play the same because they run off of the exact same engine, which did originally have me very skeptical about how things were going to look when it came to Black Ops 6. Thankfully, after seeing a lot of the gameplay and stuff from the direct, I I feel definitely a lot more relieved to both see and get a vibe that Black Ops 6 still looks very Black Ops in comparison to what the Modern Warfare franchise has been doing. A lot of the sprint animations look the same, the body animations all look the same, even though they're in a different engine. It looks still Black Ops, which I am very happy to say. Kind of more along the lines of like things that are just kind of general, and what I won't be particularly looking towards is, the campaign in and of itself looks pretty good, I might add. I am very happy to see that Adler is returning. I think Adler is going to be able to stand as one of the fan favorite Black Ops characters that we've all come to know and love. Obviously, people like Woods, the Masons, Hudson, and we can toss Adler into that now. It's good to see him again. The one thing that I am kind of a bit skeptical about is the concept of the open combat missions and how those are returning. A while back, we did get a leak that, those open combat missions, which are in the Modern Warfare 3 campaign, could be returning for Black Ops 6. And while they didn't mention them by name, they did describe that these missions were going to definitely be a lot more sandboxy, similar to the one that was in Cold War. I forget the title of it, but it's when we're in the Lubyanka building um, with our informant, and it's kind of just like it's kind of a pick your own adventure mission where you're just trying to figure out like how to get access downstairs to the bunker and let Adler and Bellin and all that. But I feel like there's going to be a lot more focus on sandboxy type stuff rather than shooty stuff. Which, when it comes to a campaign, I mean, those missions are fun. I just hope that they're not like front and center. I mean, this is a Black Ops game, but like I still want to, shoot my gun every once in a while. It could be fine, but again, we'll have to see when it comes to the campaign. I'll definitely play through it when the game does come out, but that's something that I cannot say for Modern Warfare 3, sadly. But moving over swiftly to the multiplayer side of things, this is where all of like the big stuff in regards to Black Ops 6 was kind of focused on, especially a lot of the gameplay. Most of it wasn't pulled from the campaign, surprisingly. But the biggest ticket item that has everybody kind of, at the very least, raising an eyebrow at is the omnidirectional movement, as Treyarch likes to call it. Basically, when they were looking at the game in development, they kind of thought about the fact that, well, why can't players, like sprint or dolphin dive in every direction? Why does it have to be forward? So they got rid of that limitation, and you can do those things. You can sprint and dive in any direction, as well as sliding, of course. And this just allows for, at least how it looks right now, kind of gimmicky gameplay in the sense of like people are going to be able to sprint backwards away from you. Obviously, not sprinting backwards and aiming downside at you, but people are going to be able to, you know, it'll be weird to have omnidirectional movement like this, at least for a little bit, while everybody's kind of getting used to it. I'm sure that once we do kind of embrace the idea and begin utilizing it in its full capacity, then we'll be able to, as Treyarch says, we won't be able to go back to, practically any other Call of Duty game where that is not there, which is all of them at this point. I still think that, like, even with things like Tac Sprint nowadays, I'm still able to go back and play older Call of Duty games just as well. It's not going to be that big of an issue. This is obviously the biggest thing that a lot of people kind of have their eyes on, disregarding the matchmaking system, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. Some of the other big things that we can kind of look at is, as far as customization, the HUD is going to be able to get moved around. So we have custom HUD. I'm not sure if we'll be able to customize the colors, but positioning is certainly a thing, and that looks really cool. Prestige mode and theater mode are returning. Don't know why we're kind of celebrating that, because they never should have been taken out to begin with, but I guess, shout out to Treyarch for, like, managing to able to convince a lot of things on the development side that, like, hey, the players want this, we should have this in the game. It's good that they're there. Speaking of things that, like, to further just kind of bolster the community's goodwill at this point, is 16 all new original maps on launch. That is pretty freaking massive. I think the last time we had over 15 maps on launch for a Call of Duty game was Modern Warfare 3 in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the last game where we had, like, not an excessive, but a very large amount of multiplayer maps on launch. And that's a round of applause for Treyarch, honestly. I know that the development probably has been a bit hectic for them, especially trying to get onboarded to a new engine, which they probably are very unfamiliar with. That's very good for them, and it does have me pretty excited. Speaking of excited, or at least cautiously optimistic, zombies and how things are looking for the zombies mode currently. We did get confirmation that there is a set crew. It looks like there's Weaver, Dr. Gray, Carver, and a new character called Maya. Not sure where she fits into the story, but I'll be glad to kind of figure that out when the zombies mode gets into our hands. Gobblegums are also returning, courtesy of the Vault Edition, kind of just blatantly explaining that. Speaking of kind of hidden things that aren't, like, explicitly explained along the Gobblegum side of things, in the actual direct itself, when Kevin Drew was talking about the zombies mode, he did mention, obviously, that there are going to be 2 maps at launch, and they only showed one, which was Terminus Island. But there was also something on the table, which I didn't notice at first. Obviously, there was the Gumball Jar, which, is his own tongue-in-cheek way of showing, like, hey, Gobblegums are here. But not only that, the 2 books that were under it, the top one being a book that was titled Thanks for the Feedback, as well as the book under that having the Black Ops 3 box art, which, as someone in the zombies community, it's just heartwarming to see, at the very least, a little bit of recognition and acknowledgement of the fact that, like, hey, we get it. You all love Black Ops 3. We love Black Ops 3. And we understand that you all just want an experience like that back, so we're going to be doing our best to deliver. I hope that they kind of understand, like, how to do it correctly and accurately as best they can anyway. I'm not saying for them to completely copy and, like, just do Black Ops 3 again, because I'm pretty sure that would probably be boring on the development front, but at least it is getting acknowledged, and I was very happy to see that. Uh, it almost seems like it's too good to be true when it comes to the Black Ops 6 Direct, like, they're doing everything right. And, as optimistic as I am still also conscious of the fact that this is definitely all very deliberate. As much as everything looks and sounds good on Treyarch's end, there is stuff that we do have to keep in mind primarily when it comes to a Call of Duty game. And that is the single reason as to why, I have XDefiant gameplay going on in the background. Why XDefiant, as much as Black Ops 6 is doing everything right, as much as it looks cool, and as much as everybody was losing their minds on streams over the course of the weekend, XDefiant will still have one leg up over Call of Duty, simply in the leg of no skill-based / engagement optimized matchmaking. Because Call of Duty has shifted entirely onto just min-maxing money and engagement out of the player base, it will not budge on the engagement optimized matchmaking system, which is such an extreme shame because after playing XDefiant a very high amount, not only in the launch window here, but over the course of the betas over the last year, it has been so refreshing and has felt so good playing a game that is not manipulating the matchmaking experience. And it's such a strange thing as to like I hope that Call of Duty like still will continue, quote unquote, continue their addressing of the matchmaking situation because they have only made one blog post back in January talking about what goes into it, not necessarily why they do it. We know why they do it. They want to protect people so that they stay on the game longer and spend more money. But they can at least loosen the tie a little bit. Like it doesn't make sense, you know? Not to mention the fact that Black Ops 6 itself is, again, still a COD game, so it will be irrelevant in 1 year's time. And I mean 1 year's time from right now, because as it stands, Modern Warfare 3 is already dead in the water. Nobody's going to care. We're already hearing leaks, confirmations, and all the sorts about how nothing from Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone will fit in the Black Ops 6. You're starting fresh, clean slate, which I'm happy about. That means I don't have to ever think about spending any more money on Modern Warfare 3. I don't want to think about that anymore. And I probably will not play it anymore either, but we'll have to see. But it's all of these things that kind of like go into the fact of like Black Ops 6, it's still as good as it can be and as good as it sounds, it still has a bunch of things holding it back. And the sad part is these are things that are not in Treyarch's control. Speaking of things that are not in Treyarch's control, another big thing that I seriously think is going to kill Black Ops 6 in the long run, and I mean straight up kill, is the fact that I believe on the Microsoft Store page already, it says that an online connection is required to play all modes of Black Ops 6, including the campaign, which to me tells me one thing, unless they, explain and say otherwise. Campaign, multiplayer, and zombies, if and when, not if, when in the future the servers get taken offline for Black Ops 6, it could be a decade down the line or longer, Black Ops 6 will effectively be a dead game. There will be no way to play it. There will be no way to get on it. There will be no way to play or access anything that you have bought or played on Black Ops 6, which has me not very upset, but it's just a bit of a Debbie Downer on the hype season around Black Ops 6 right now. And I am kind of keeping in mind that this is a thing, and I will keep it in mind when the game actually launches that Black Ops 6 is an online-only game, and things will not be, they will not stick around if the servers ever get taken offline. Uh, it's so weird to think that a Call of Duty game, much less, a Black Ops game, effectively has already signed its death certificate before launch, which it's a funny thought. If any of you like, I have my entire theming around my channel and myself, but if anyone is familiar with the Love Live series as a whole, um, you know, a few months ago there was the Civ 2 game that was announced for English servers for the English-speaking countries, Americas and all that globally. But in that same tweet, it was also announced the EOS date, the end of service date for the game. So in the same tweet where they announced the launch, they announced the end date, and I feel like that's effectively what Black Ops 6 is doing. And not to like completely kiss ass to XDefiant either. I'm pretty sure XDefiant does not have any local function at all either, meaning that whenever in the future XDefiant goes offline, it's a dead game as well. Uh, Comparatively so, at least XDefiant is free. You're not forcibly spending any money to get access to the game. It is free to play. But again, that's not for me to like keep defending XDefiant in that regard. It's just something to keep in mind when we're like experiencing all of this hype and marketing for Black Ops 6. Yes, I am happy about the game. It looks really good, and admittedly, I am getting excited. It looks really good, but all of these things, because it is still a Call of Duty game at the end of the day, I hope people still remain aware of. A lot of people are already getting caught up in the hype. To each their own. They already pre-ordered the game. They're already spending their money. It's them. It's their free will to do what they want with their money. But I'm still going to be holding off at the very least until I see more zombies gameplay personally, because I'm someone who just loves zombies. I only play zombies. I only want to play zombies. But On the multiplayer side of things, of course, when it comes to the matchmaking, engagement optimized, skill based, or what have you, it's just never going to get addressed, at least in the COD space. And I think that is even more apparent that it's probably just going to get stricter, if at the very least not being further addressed, because Black Ops 6 is going to be on Game Pass, which means that very likely there are going to be a lot of people who are picking up Black Ops 6 as their first Call of Duty game ever, if not their first one in a while, which means Activision is definitely going to want to protect those players and keep them on the game. Maybe I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit because if it's on Game Pass, they'll still have access to it anyway, but it's one thing for them to just have the game sitting in their console versus actually playing it. They want the play time. That's just kind of how the business works, I guess. Um, in terms of XDefiant's side, obviously they're going to be able to hold on to a lot of the people like myself on the multiplayer side of things, where we just want the more organic and natural feeling matchmaking experience, where we have our games where we're doing well, games where we get stomped on, games where we just want to leave, or games where the entire enemy team leaves. It's a thing that just happens. It's a completely natural thing. Nothing is premeditated. And that's what a lot of us, like myself, miss when it comes to an online multiplayer experience. And XDefiant really showed me that although I was falling out of Call of Duty multiplayer, I still have a love and adoration for arcade shooters as a concept, as a game mode, as whatever. And it's just the simple fact that no developers have been making a game from the ground up that is fun and for the player. And shout out to Mark Rubin and the XDefiant team for just doing that from the start. That is just something that I will always applaud them for. They were at the IGN Live the other day highlighting some of the things that they're pushing forward in the future for XDefiant. Things like the TDM mode is coming up, I think, within the next week. They bumped up the S&D mode that they've been working on in priority because so many people have been bugging them for it. They want it. They want a one life mode, which them moving it up the priority list over other things is yet another shout out to the team for like just continuing to listen to the community and understanding like these are the things that are going to help us grow, right? It's wonderful to see a game like XDefiant currently thriving, and I'm really happy for it. I just hope that even with all of these complaints, even with all these worries, we know that Call of Duty will continue to succeed. It's just the nature of Call of Duty. It's too much of an industry giant. Too many people get caught up in the hype. They see all the things, they think we're so back, and they immediately pre-order before they even see more than 5 minutes of gameplay for anything. Um, it's just unfortunate that as much as people try to keep their eyes open, and as much as people try to remind others like, hey, don't forget what happened last year, don't forget what happened the year before, don't forget what's been happening with the matchmaking, Call of Duty will still succeed. And there's not much that I can do on an individual level. All I can do is just kind of go along for the ride, I suppose. That zombies mode, depending on how good things look when we get more gameplay, when we get more explanations. COD Next is coming up in August. I'll be definitely looking forward to that. I hope that they, at the very least, explain more a lot of the surface level things in relation to zombies, how it's going to work and whatnot. But definitely leave some things for player discovery. That was one thing with Modern Warfare 3. They just kind of over-explain themselves, and the game mode has been dead in the water effectively since like a month after launch. A little upsetting, but all in all, I think I will still play both. Still currently, as of right now, I have been playing both Modern Warfare 3 and XDefiant, close to relatively an equal amount. I had my fill of like the honeymoon phase with XDefiant. I'm already level 84. Been putting a lot of playtime in on my spare time, especially during the double XP weekends. But yeah, Black Ops 6 has been looking really good just off of the direct, and we have been hearing a lot of good things so far, but it pays to be cautiously optimistic and waiting until they give us everything that they can, marketing explanation wise, before acting on anything. I can only wish Treyarch the best because I do, from the way the direct went, I do have a pretty high feeling that while, yes, definitely some of the things like prestige mode returning is likely definitely an answer to XDefiant, who said, I want to say around a year ago, that they were going to try to implement a prestige mode of sorts. And, Call of Duty hasn't been doing that the past few years. So try to get back at least some goodwill, implement it back into the game. Um, a lot of those features that just get removed because it makes them more money. Uh, it, it's it definitely is more a thing of like, okay, you're clearly doing this like just to bring us back, but yeah. There's just a lot on my mind when it comes to Black Ops 6. I've been trying to think about it the past few days, and I wanted to get a video out kind of talking about it and both XDefiant. I'm still having a blast on XDefiant. I'll probably make a separate video talking about the upcoming season 1 stuff with the new content, new factions, new maps, and all that. I'm definitely excited for all of that, but like I said, we'll save that for another time. So if any of you guys are, looking forward to Call of Duty or just here for XDefiant as well, be sure to drop a like, and I'll certainly be around. I like making these videos in my spare time when I feel like I want to. So I'm always excited to share my love for video games when things are going well, And Black Ops 6 definitely has me on a bit of an optimistic high right now, even though it is cautious. But with all that being said, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.